I did not know how I was going to feel going to 45 or 50. I thought I might have some nerves in going to that depth just because of, oh my goodness, that's so many atmospheres above me, or what would happen. But actually, I found it really calming.
Off Gassing, a scuba podcast with host Nick Hogel. Progression, much like individuality, has no rules. What started out as a planned path can evolve into something different and unexpected, leading to results greater than we ever imagined. It was amazing to catch up with Jenn Thomson to speak about the completion of her Instructor Examination, her experience with Tech One, different programs offered through Global Underwater Explorers, her path forward, and much more. Please enjoy. I am very, very excited to welcome Jenn Thomson back to the podcast. We were just going over, and what we were saying, it's been right around a year since the last time you were on the podcast, right?
It was, yes. I think this is the fourth time I've been on, so I'm really sorry, guys, if you're sick of me. But
No.
yes, it's been a year, and we have a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, no. It's absolutely an absolute pleasure to have you on. I was very much excited to have you back on, and just because, watching your progress through, the various social medias and everything, it's been quite amazing since from day one of, the scholarship to where you are now is just absolutely astounding. And then you've had quite an exciting year, and I'm very, very much inclined to hear about that. So, well, I guess let's start with this. Currently, where are you right now?
So, firstly, thank you for saying that. Always a pleasure. It does seem quite amazing, and I sometimes can't believe where I've got to now and looking back. So I really like these conversations because I can really see on what I've done and reflect on as well. So I'm actually in the UK. I'm here for like a day. I literally just left Sardinia. I just did the GUE Young Divers program as staff. I guess was like an honorary student on one of their ITCs, which had a more recreational or performance diver focus. There was an odd number of students. I was there. And then I also did my IE. And then tomorrow I am flying to the Solomon Islands to be part of an expedition team. I'm there for a month being a scientific diver.
That is a full schedule. I mean,
Yeah.
I will have to have you back on for a fifth time just because I would love to hear more about the Solomon Islands.
Of course.
But so you're only back in the UK for one day. This whole year, we're about halfway through the year. Have you spent a lot of time in the UK, or has there been a lot more traveling? Or even, let's just say, for the last year since I've spoken to you, how many times have you been in the UK?
I have been keeping count because I'm trying to basically shift. If I'm not traveling, I'm trying to be more so in Dubai because it's just an easier logistical place. I think I've been in the UK. I was definitely there over Christmas. So I think after I talked to you, so actually, yes, we were talking in Singapore, but we never made it to actually meet in person.
Yes,
I think,
yes.
that was it. So after that, I was traveling around Cyprus and Sardinia again. I was doing some wreck diving, and there's a project in Sardinia which runs every October called the Marine Genome Project. So, I was a Cave One, so I am still Cave One. So I just was helping out that. Yeah, I was going to do Cave Two, but I'm going to wait till next year because just to slow down a little bit more. And then what else happened? I think that was it. I went back to the UK for Christmas, and then after that, I was away for quite a while again. In spring, I was doing the boat show, which was really cool, actually. It was my first time speaking speaking in like a trade show in that aspect. So met loads of people, including actually one person who traveled from Poland to meet me for a day. Like, she flew across Europe to meet me, which is really nice. And then I was doing a few presentations there. And then literally went to Egypt for a few months to do my Tech One. I actually did my Tech One. Yes, I know. And we can chat about that. Then flew almost straight to Sardinia for the courses. Yeah, so pretty exciting. I will be in the UK like for a week, end of August. I'm doing a course which involves like firefighting on vessels called the STCW, just to be more competent at like driving boats or being a crew member. But apart from that, pretty much not in the UK.
Well, that's awesome that you're able to travel around so much, but it is nice, to get back home from time to time. I'm actually excited because in about 2.5 weeks, so by the time this is out, I might actually even be in Texas, but I'm flying back home just to visit friends and family.
Nice.
Usually only go
That's
back
lovely.
it is. Usually only go back like once a year. And
Mm.
I was planning on going towards the end of this year, but just kind of how things worked out, I was like, I'll just go. I'll go, in the summer because I'm not much of a cold weather person. So I was like, I'll just go in the
Yeah,
summer. It'll be a little bit warmer than the in November, October. But to back it up a little bit, so I recall, I think one of our last conversations, your sister had just gotten certified, I think, or was that like two times ago?
Did. No, she did. Yes, that was super nice. And incidentally, when I went to Egypt in February, March, she came too for a week, and it was so nice. We went, just did some open water diving, and she loved it, especially all the the corals and the fish. And yeah, she was very much excited, and she really wants to learn how to dive tri-suit as well. So it was
Okay.
it was very cool. Oh, but a funny story. Sorry, waffling already. But we were in the dive center, and this diver came up to my sister Rachel, and he was like, I just want to let you know, I watched all your YouTube videos. You're the reason why I came to Dahab. You're amazing. And she was like, thank you so much, but I think the person you want to talk to is like over there. And he was like, wait, what? There's two of you? So it was quite funny in that regard. But yeah, she had a really good time. Everyone at Scuba Seekers, where we were, really liked the fact that we were both there as well. So it was a good time.
Awesome. Yeah, I was gonna ask if you had a chance to get back in the water with her. So that is absolutely amazing to hear.
I did.
And one of our last conversations, I think you kind of just spoke about it just a second ago, was obviously the tech one, and I'm very excited to hear more about that. But last time we spoke, you were going through the process to becoming an instructor, but
yes,
you were not there yet. But as of today, and obviously way before today, you are currently a recreational GUE. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's crazy, actually. Yeah.
Okay, so can you tell me a little bit, because I know you were going through the process of becoming an instructor the last time we spoke. Can you tell me a little bit about after we spoke and then leading up to, have you been teaching a few classes since then? When did you actually get the certification?
So I finished it the beginning of June. So that was when I finished off the class. So the class was a full open water class. So, okay, I guess just to back it up firstly. So I think when we spoke, I was currently getting my first set of signatures. So that was in terms of interning classes. I was demonstrating a few skills and helping out with Gemma and a few others. And then over Christmas, I left all the other types of signatures until then. So, for example, I needed to show my understanding of the knowledge. So over Christmas, I was working with JP and Anne-Marie Bretta, and I was sending them, I was filming myself conduct lectures, especially at that time. Things have changed now, but the open water course still had a lecture component, whereas right now we're bringing in that online adaptive e-learning to be conducive to open water as well. But at the time, I needed to do those e-learning lectures, online lectures rather. And so was doing them and just finished up a last few bits of rescue scenario signatures. And so then I got the green light to go ahead and start preparing for my second set of signatures. And that second set is the actual IE itself, so the instructor's exam. Before, they used to also accept a mock of that, but now they would like you to do an actual class to get real-world experience with students.
Okay.
And so what I wanted to do was conduct a full open water class, which is 5 days. I wanted to get 2 students on that, which is a quite hard task anyway, but we're trying to promote it more. Yeah, because it's quite hard to find 2 people who want to do open water GUE at this time. But I managed to find them. And so the time from, I guess, February until May, I was talking to said students, making sure I had everything prepped. I was doing it in Base 1 Sardinia as well. And so that time we were able to align all the timings together and able to do the full open water exam at the end of May. We had to submit some paperwork a bit after that because you have to kind of redo your instructor's fitness test. And so I had to redo mine after that. But yeah, that was kind of the timeline. So it was officially announced like only a few weeks ago. Okay. No classes officially yet, but lots of interest. So yes, if anyone wants a class, reach out.
So let me ask you this. So you were saying kind of before and then after, because obviously I think it was December when GUE implemented a few changes within their program, right? It was December, right?
Around there, yeah.
So how has that reception been now? Because we're, pretty much halfway through the year, 6 months away. Has there been good feedback on that, the changes? Has there been many reviews or any reviews? I'm assuming some, but...
Definitely, yes, there has been. I feel, and I think Gemma can also talk about this in more detail, but there's definitely been a great uptake in people who are doing Performance Diver and then feeding into the primers itself. So Performance Diver is super useful in the fact that if you only have a weekend to take off for the class or you want to get stable first, those people are really being empowered to then take on more additional training in terms of the primers. A lot more people doing navigation and rescue and things like that, which is super nice to see. At this moment in time, so we had a grace period for those changes to be implemented in classes because we still had the old fundamentals and system running until the 10th of June because classes were booked in advance.
Yeah.
And so after that, we will now begin to see a real change in the classes that are being taught and done, and more instructors are now embracing that online learning and getting more familiar with the system as well. So I guess it's hard to tell right now because we had that grace period, but after this, I'm sure at the end of the year we'll have a much more concrete idea of how those changes have been well received. But from what I can see, the shift between the shift to the primers from Performance Diver is really nice to see.
Well, I was going to say that is a huge positive side because, and don't get me wrong, I don't know, I haven't followed the statistics in a while, but I always remember hearing in most agencies, there's always a huge drop off in any sort of continuing education. So, obviously most people come in their open water, and then there's a huge drop off to where people actually go on to get their advanced or rescue. So the fact that you're seeing people moving forward, that's a huge positive change to begin with, because I feel like a lot of people will stop. Maybe not so much these days, but I don't know. Like I said, I'm very bad with looking at the numbers on the paper. So not that there's many good numbers on papers out there, but as far as the scuba industry is concerned. But the other question I have is, you were saying it was a little bit hard to find some people to do the GUE recreational class when you were searching for it. Can you tell me a little bit about your process so maybe other instructors could say like, oh, okay, I need to find some students. How did you tackle that?
So I was quite lucky in the fact that I guess some people say I have like a following or I'm known or guess, but it was, I guess, now it's easy or easier to find students because people have already reached out or were interested in my journey to begin with. So that's really nice to see. But in terms of the IE itself, I knew that I was wanting to do it around the time I was in Sardinia. So I had a period of, I think, 3 months to get students as well. And I was also quite lucky in the fact that I have a good network of people who are interested. And so I was reaching out there, and actually I had an old friend and then her partner wanting to do it as well a bit later on. So that was really nice to see. And they were wanting to actually travel around Southeast Asia when they were going around August and September, but wanted to learn diving beforehand. So it was, I guess, a mixture of reaching out to my original network to see if anyone was interested, also following up on people who had initially inquired on like your journey or my journey throughout my time, and then also a bit of good luck, i.e. that one of the students' partners wanted to do it as well. So a mixture of everything.
Awesome. No, it's great to hear because it could be a little bit of a challenge, I guess, for anybody to try to find students. Most people just go online and search. So I was just kind of curious, like, okay, how can I do something like that? Like, entice the non-certified divers out there to come out and become certified. So cool. That's great to hear. And As far you said you had to do the lectures, was that something that came easy to you from your previous backgrounds, or was that difficult to get the knowledge across?
So I would say the hardest thing was timing, and Gemma will attest to this. I waffle a bit, and so I need to work on my efficiency. Um, but actually, the lectures was okay. I really like the knowledge as well, and we both, well, she's really taught me the ways in which you can succinctly yet clearly express a topic, which I really value, and especially in terms of some concepts. I really like the way that Gemma teaches some foundational work to her students, so I've tried to emulate that as well. In terms of the lectures, I found it really nice, and again, this is why I loved having actual students apart from in my class, because before I said before, you could have done a mock before, but now they encourage, they want to do actual students, and so I found it really interesting because I had an idea of the questions they were going to ask, so I was able to tailor the lectures to hopefully mitigate that straight away. But again, all the way through it, Gemma was very good in highlighting what I maybe didn't pick up that all open water students will definitely ask, and helping me start to compile a list of what I can look for in the future. But I really liked it. The lectures were really fun, especially towards the end where we start talking about gases and the depths, mixtures, standard gases, decompression, and safety. There was a real like light bulb moment when the students were like, this is why, this is how I can mitigate air panic, or this is why this is important. And so seeing that really, really was super nice.
Awesome, awesome. So you go through the program, you get your certification. Now you can teach. I know some instructors, they will say, okay, I'll be here during these dates. If you want to come and learn from me, come out. Or they'll kind of, maybe they'll do a blend of where they'll set dates, people can come, or you can kind of just go play it by ear, I guess. Just, people are reaching out to you. You can tailor classes that way. What approach are you going to take? Are you going to do kind of the both? Will you do like, I'll be here during this time, come and learn from me? What do you think?
I think a mixture of both, quite honestly. And again, I guess this is my perception of like where I was, but I didn't know how I would perform during the IE. I mean, Dorota and Gemma were like, you're ready, it's fine. But I guess I was still waiting a bit of if I was going to complete the IE or not before starting to, I guess, publicly advertise or probe for interest. But I completed it. I mean, we can also talk about what I found slightly more difficult than I imagined during the IE, because I came in being prepared, but also I found a few things more trickier than I anticipated. But I would say this next year, I'm also super busy with other expeditions, diving. And so I was kind of booked up already until like a year in advance. So this is just another thing I have to navigate. So I'm doing a mixture. So the first thing what I did was, well, initially from the announcement post, I got a few individuals inquiring directly, which is really nice. I then reached out to anyone that had previously expressed interest in my circle. We started to put a few dates together, and then equally some instructors are super nice in saying, hey, I have this student, they are open water, they are looking around the same dates and locations you are. They want to do open water. Are you interested in co-teaching, or we might try and make this work? So it's a real mixture at the moment. I have ideas of preliminary dates and locations, but then in the future, obviously, if I'm in Egypt for a while or Italy or elsewhere, I can then directly say, I'm in this location, please reach out and ask for classes. At the moment, I'm in Sardinia in October again, so I'm trying to put on like an open water and performance diver then, and similar thing in Egypt in November. So it's a real mixture right now. So I'm trying to navigate what is the right balance to do that for sure.
Okay. And do you think Egypt and Sardinia will kind of be I don't want to say the base between those two places, but because, there's certain instructors that are kind of known more in Southeast Asia. There's others in Mexico, the United States. Do you think that'll kind of be your stomping grounds?
I mean, I'm always happy to do, well, depending on like, politics or liabilities or work permits of what one is allowed to teach elsewhere. I'm happy to honestly do classes anywhere where I can in terms of my own remit or liabilities. But I would say so. I am more comfortable, and I know the dive sites in Egypt and Sardinia. I've been there a lot, and so initially, because I came into the ITC not having talked or DM'd for any other agency, I've accumulated all my experience through the ITC process itself. I know that those are locations that I am very familiar with, I can teach. So for my first few courses, I'm happy to stay there and try out. And then in the future, I can co-teach. I would love to travel elsewhere and do courses in different locations as well. I actually might be trying to co-teach a performance diver in the Pacific Northwest because I'm traveling there. And then I had somebody reach out and ask if they want to co-teach with me. So it just all depends at the moment. So I would say in terms of logistical and knowledge about the site itself, I would be more prepared to give a good class to students in Italy and Egypt. But that's not to say I wouldn't go anywhere. And as I build up my experience, I would love to travel and just try and help as many people as possible in all parts of the world.
Cool. And you were saying that there was some things that you found more challenging or difficult that you didn't expect. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
For sure. So, and again, this might be because my experience of instructing has come through the GUE ITC process and subsequent workshops and internships from that. For example, and this is the same thing in ITCs or workshops, if you are instructing and you tell students to go to X position, they usually go to X position, whereas in open water, they go anywhere but to X position. So, and it's quite funny because I think the two main things I found was I was maybe not unprepared for, but I guess I was underestimating the level of panic or I guess uncomfortableness that one might show when experiencing breaths underwater for the first time. Because from what I've seen in students that were maybe in open water for the first time as well, they were relatively comfortable in water, whereas we had a situation where I had two individuals for my open water, and one was expecting to find it easier but was more uncomfortable, and one was expected to find it harder and was more comfortable. So there was a real role reversal, which was made for a very interesting team dynamic as well. I must say the students, by the way, amazing communicating underwater. Like they were amazing as a team. They were checking their own gas. They were correcting each other. I was like, this is great. You don't need me. Joking. But that level of uncomfortableness at the very beginning was something I found hard to try and not correct the wrong word, but try and resolve underwater because I had limited experience in dealing with that. But then as the time went on, I found more and more ways to deal with that as well. And Gemma was super useful in that, giving her ideas and her experiences too. So the IE, basically, I was running everything. So logistics, timing, boats, cameras, everything. But it was super useful to have Gemma there because she was acting as the third teammate or an observer. But then if she found that, not that I said anything wrong, but she could add in a bit more information or her experience, she would do so. So it was kind of like a two-way conversation as well during the IE, which I really valued. So Gemma was really useful in giving me some insights into team dynamic psychology and maybe what I could do to try and mitigate the panic or stress of the divers, which was nice. And then at one point, so we went from having somebody that was uncomfortable taking breaths without a mask to doing 2 no mask swims in one session, and I was like, yes, I did it. And then the second thing was equalization. So from that, again, so I touch wood. I mean, apart from the time when I chatted to you last time, when I had one ear infection, I've never really had ear issues. And so the concept of trying to find the ways in which somebody can equalize, if they've never thought about it before, they don't know how to, they can't, was again more unusual. And so what I learned that during the first few sessions of the IE was that I needed to be more proactive in dealing with equalization rather than reactive. For example, really communicating what they need to do, especially on the first dive and first ascent, because you have to embrace the chaos at that moment and things happen very, very fast. And so showing them the ways in which they can not let equalization become a problem before it becomes a problem and then trying to solve it was a different way of approaching that teaching process. So that was also a more unusual aspect, which I hadn't really encountered for.
Okay. No, that the two very, very valid points on the problems
Mm.
because, especially equalization, it's one
Mm.
of those ones that yeah, it's a hard one to explain sometimes if you don't if it's been super easy for you to do it in the
Yeah.
past and then you're just it's kind of like someone trying to explain someone how to make like a peanut butter and jelly. It should be super easy, right? But if somebody's never seen peanut butter or jelly or bread, they might be like, well, I don't know what this all is. So that's a weird
For
analogy.
sure.
Sorry.
No, for sure. But it was basically down for, if we started the first few ascents, it was very, very dynamic. Things happened very fast, and there was, we had to really break up different scenarios and skills to be less overwhelming. But that descent and equalization can happen a bit more quickly. So it was if they had a problem with their ears and maybe there was a bit of discomfort. So instead of me then solving that issue, it was how could I stop making that issue before it became one.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
really reminding them of the descent speed, inflating, looking up maybe their head position when equalizing was an issue, rather than I have an issue with my ears, how can we solve it? It's more like how can I communicate better to the students to make it not an issue before it happens.
Okay, okay. And
Mm.
looking forward, I'm sure that I don't want to say it'll never be a problem again, but it'll always kind of be in the back of your mind,
Mm.
right? Like I always used to, or like, a long time ago when I used to teach, if certain skills would get to a student and then you
Mm.
kind of have them keep practicing and practicing, then it just doesn't become an issue at all anymore, right? Like you just kind of know, like, okay, I
For
know how
sure.
to deal with this. I've managed it a few different ways. We'll be able to sort it out. So no, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing.
For sure. Like I have learned so much from the IE itself. My initial internships were mostly fundamentals. And so there was a lack of seeing open waters for the first time, especially in its complete package. And so I found the IE, again, a major learning process. And so I will take things from every class I teach. And as I go forward, I will only learn, yeah, a bit more. And as you said, there's things that I never would have expected there to be an issue. For example, I am, I guess now I'm very good at producing demonstration quality skills, but sometimes it might be counterproductive to leave your mask off for a long time, being like, hey, look, this is what I'm doing. I am completely fine without one. Here is like the orientation. I'm now going to put it back on. And then the students might think, I have to do it for that slow as well. No, you don't. It's okay. I was showing you, but actually it was counterproductive. So again, this is a comment that Gemma said. It was like, sometimes don't be too good in doing that because then you will freak out the students. I'm like, okay. So yeah, so a really amazing learning curve, and I'm very excited to try and put forward as much of my learnings to other people as possible as well.
Okay, okay. Well, speaking of your learnings, Tech 1.
Oh yeah.
So
I knew this was coming.
yeah, it's amazing. Like I feel like I need to find the clips from like our first
Oh god.
interview. And
Yeah.
well, no, but it's so amazing though, and this is one of the things I absolutely love about scuba diving is because, I think I even the I can't remember, it was one of the intros where I wrote like as you gain comfort and you're getting essentially more comfortable with these skills, you start to progress more than you ever thought you could. I mean, that's why it'd be
Yes.
amazing to see where you were like, maybe like the
Oh yes.
first interview even before the scholarship to where you are now. It's just absolutely phenomenal. So just tell me about the progression leading up to and taking Tech 1.
For sure. I really seem to remember that. Especially, I remember at the first GUE conference, I was like, "Hey, I'm Jen. I like fish at 3 meters. I have absolutely no interest at all in doing tech, cave, CCR." Yeah, okay, cool. Ask me in a year's time what I'm doing. But it's really cool to actually realize how much you've mentally progressed as well. And so, I guess for me, it was so context. I was in Asia and I met Sameh, who I go to in Egypt quite a lot, and he was telling me about Tech One and how I should do it. And I said no, and he said yes. So then I did it. So long story short, it was twofold reasons. It was, I guess, to gain comfort in a wider range of diving environments and depths and helping to progress my skills. It was also the fact that if one day I wanted to become a fundamentals instructor, so you have to basically upgrade. And in doing that, one of the reasons you have to be at one personal diving level above which you teach. Now, fundamentals now, both basic and technical, have become part of the technical curriculum, which means I have to be at least Tech 1. And I have to have, or 150, I think it's 100 or 150. I need to check the standards, but you have to have a certain number of good quality cave and Tech 1 dives. And so it's another way to help me gain that experience for future teaching. And also then as I was thinking about it, I thought that it would be very useful because eventually I really now want to do Cave 2. So, and that involves working with stages, and I thought that this would be a really good foundational, I guess, working with the stage before I go on to do Cave 2 as well. I wasn't so fussed about going deep. I think I said this before. I wasn't interested in pushing in that aspect, but I found it a lot more comforting than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, and we can talk about this, but I found Tech 1 to be less of a challenge than I initially thought it was going to be. I surprised myself at how, not chill, but how relaxed I found the class. Yes, it was very hard. What made it worse is that my dry suit completely flooded during some of the descents because it was on its last legs. So going down to like 50 meters with this water coming in was like, oh my God, this is great. But I found the skills, I didn't find the skills as hard as I thought it was going to be. And it was more so about overcoming my mental perception of going deeper, which I found very useful in the class as well.
Question. Did you give the dry suit a proper burial? Is it completely just gone and done with? I don't want to say burial at sea because that would be ocean pollution, but a proper burial or something.
No, it's still with me right now. I'm going to try and like save it or keep it as a spare. It was like that during in Sardinia as well, and so I used Doro's old dry suit, which was the dry suit that I was taught dry suit in a few years ago, and so I used hers all throughout the IE, all throughout the ITC, throughout everything, which is very nice and appreciated because I was no longer soaking wet.
And then so you said the class wasn't as challenging as you thought it was going to be. You kind of more had to get over the mental aspect of it. Prior to taking the class, like leading up, I mean, there's always kind of the butterflies in the stomach, like, or was it not that? Was it like, I'm completely prepared, I'm ready to go into this? Like, how were you the day before the class? Like, okay, tomorrow I'm taking this class that at one point I said I wouldn't. Now here we are. Was there any kind of nerves and then can you elaborate? Because you did do, I'm sure there had to have been skills transferred from Cave 1 to go over into Tech 1. So was that what made it easier? Like what was the non-challenging thing, or why was it easier? Sorry, that's a very long way to ask that question.
No, it's I love it. It sounds like my answer, which is also long and waffling. So, but it's a really good point, and it's a really good question. Actually, I think the day before I was helping out on like a doubles primer or something, so I really wasn't thinking about it at all. Which yeah. So I think a mixture of things, because I've been diving, I guess, like a lot throughout this year. I have subconsciously built up like a plethora of foundational experience, which I found really subconsciously I had it, even though I sometimes don't feel like it, because of, I guess, of who I dive with as well, because my dive buddies are, Sama and Doro and Gemma and Andrea and everybody like that, who I always compare myself to them and think this is how I need to improve. Whereas I need to always remember that whenever I dive, and maybe dive with them as well, I'm also developing my foundational skills. So I've done a lot in the past year leading up to that. And so I felt very comfortable in, I guess, the configurations. In terms of the procedures itself, you are completely correct. So we had the valve failures like we had in Cave 1. So that was just a reminder of what to do. And so I didn't find that too difficult procedurally wise. And then also to task load us, we had to lay a line. And so again, that came from Cave 1. So I found that really, really beneficial. The one thing that I had to get used to for like 1 or 2 dives was the stage itself, because it was like really big And I'm like, what is this? What am I doing? And so I feel like if I had all three of those things at once, so the valve failures, the line reel work, and the stage itself, it would have been more things to actively think about. Whereas I only had one, which was like the stage. But we really compartmentalized the use of the stage. The first dive was just having it, and then eventually we had to do gas switches and picking it up, putting it down, and then really using it. And I guess like the trickiest thing was getting out of the water with doubles and a stage, because that was honestly the most trickiest part, especially in Egypt. So we came out and the waves in the course were really big at this point, and there was like a sandy slope, and I was going up, and I had the doubles on my back. My SCR is quite low, so it was still heavy, and then the stage as well. And at one point, I was like sliding down, and the waves were crashing over my waist. And Sam was like, "Jen, let's keep moving." And I'm like, "I don't think I can. I don't think I can move." But that was the I guess jokingly that was the hardest part. But I guess it's more so being cognizant of my physical limits at that stage, and also being really careful to slow and take it easy, especially on those deeper dives where we were going to 45, 50 meters at that time, to not physically exert myself and also accept help. But we touched upon the mental aspect. And so I did not know how I was going to feel going to 45 or 50. I thought I might have some nerves in going to that depth, just because of, oh my goodness, that's so many atmospheres above me, or what would happen. But actually, I found it really calming. It's a lot quieter down there. My brain, as you see, is quite active all the time. And so I really found the stillness of sometimes being the only individuals on that dive site, and knowing how far conceptually you were from other individuals. I found that really comforting. And then the ascents in the blue, I also found super comforting. I thought I was maybe going to get a bit more disorientated, especially as there's no reference, but I found it really nice to have that focus just on your breath, on the timings, on the depth on your computer. And so I did not find it as hard to maintain a depth as I thought it was going to. Similar when so parallels to cave diving, when we're doing those, the silty scenarios and you had to wear the mask, I found it really comforting, because you were only focusing on one, I guess, sense, or you didn't have too many distractions. And so those two things I thought I was going to have more of a problem with, and I really didn't. And so it was quite nice to have that as well. And I guess like the final thing I would say is we had an extra day to work on foundational skills, because I was with two other individuals, and so we wanted to have a time where we worked more on that. So the Tech 1 course we had another day to really solidify foundation skills. So it was more spread out in the earlier part as well. So it was made for a quite nice course, for sure.
Okay. How did you find the gas switches? So was that the first time doing gas switches, or had you done it previous?
No, that was my first time. It was fun. It was, so as I said, like I didn't have to think about any other procedures apart from that, so I was able just to really focus on that itself. And so I found it okay. I found it nice. Yeah. So I'm kind of saying this a bit nonchalantly. I remember talking to Sama about this after the class, where I asked, can you please give me some feedback, or what do I need to do to improve, and things like that, because I was finding certain aspects, like I said, procedurally a bit easier. And so not easier, I guess it was easier I didn't have to think about it so much than previous courses, I guess, because of the experience I'd already had. Yes, it was something new, but I was able to remember, coordinate the steps, and still have everything ticking over very nicely. And I guess Sama made a comment about my diving buddies, and how sometimes my feedback is to sometimes not compare myself to other people, because therefore I always think I need to consistently improve or get feedback. Whereas if I just relax and enjoy the dive, then things come naturally as he saw. So
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's a tough one sometimes too, to not
for
compare,
sure,
especially if
for
you're
sure,
diving with people day in and day out. It's just like you
for
almost
sure.
have to. So I almost want to, I almost don't want to ask this, but I will. So is there going to be any journey into Tech 2? Because I know you said you were going to take Cave 2, so I was going to ask the Cave question here in a minute. But is there going to be a Tech 2 course in the
Oh
future,
God.
or a CCR closed circuit?
I mean, so at the end of my Tech 1, Sam said, you should do CCR or Tech 2. And I said, absolutely not. But so, just take this with a pinch of salt. Right now, no. I mean that because I really want to focus on keeping and improving at the level which I am at. I have done quite a lot of courses, especially in the past few years as well. And so I guess my priority now is to do Cave 2 and then really help out on meaningful projects at that level, and then also get my tech dives up first as well. So I did a few dives. We went to the arch and did a few other ones, but I would really like to just stick at that level before moving on a bit more for sure. Because also now I am thinking about the classes I want to teach, because although it's really easy as well to think about what is the next step, actually sometimes, and this was something that came up in the ITC, which I was, I guess, kind of not a part of, but yet an honorary student in as it came out. Individuals there were very much focusing on diving doubles and dry and, focusing on their next milestones. But then actually, when they realized that they had to teach open water skills for if they want to do an open water IE, for example, inflator hoses or free flowing regulators or some basic navigation or basic five rescue, or then actually knowing how to adjust someone's weighting or tank position due to their STA, or even diving and waiting in a single tank, was a bit like, oh, this is actually trickier than I thought, or need to remember about this. And so what I also will focus on next year is, as well as keeping up my level, I have to do this now to keep up my instructor rating and renew it, but also seeing the recreational diving as like, I love to do that sort of diving anyway, but really encouraging other people to focus on those skills as well, because trying to be motionless in a single tank with carbon fiber backplate and dry suit is hard. It's much harder than doubles. So just encouraging people to do that as well, because it's really important to have that flexibility to dive singles wet, doubles dry, changing it up day after day and being comfortable to do so, because it's really easy to think about Tech 2 CCR, and then come back to a single tank rash guard and think, why am I dropping my legs, or what's happening here? So for sure,
it's not an easy thing to find that balance, because you want to keep
for
progressing,
sure.
but at the same time,
Yeah.
it's you could lose the skills of where you're at if you just continually progress and then forget
Oh,
about
for
everything
sure.
that you learned before. But on that note, so you'd kind of mentioned or just slightly said, if you ever wanted to teach fundamentals, you have to be a level above. Do you think that's something that you'll move towards at some point?
So actually, my next goal, oh god, my next goal is I would love to be the first female GUE scientific diving instructor. I said it.
Oh, okay, okay.
So that is my first goal. That's my first goal. So with that, you have to have a certain number of scientific dives itself. And so I have most of them. I think you have to have 100 scientific dives officially recorded. And so especially with my expedition to the Solomon Islands, I will be getting much more as well. You have to be at a certain academic scientific level, be an active scientist involved in projects, and then doing upgrades. You have to have an understanding of the course structure, and a few other bits. But my goal is to, so I need to get the primers. I would love to be able to teach the primers and then the scientific diving instructor before fundamentals. So yeah, that's my goal. That's my goal.
Okay.
But it's going to be like far in the future. You have to also teach a certain number of classes. I think with the fundamentals, you obviously have a lot more, well, right now, a bigger market and opportunity. But some of the discussions we were having in Sardinia as well is people also need to realize, like, I would never not want to teach open water, because I feel like there is so much untapped potential in teaching those courses. I mean, with fundamentals, yes, there are more students that know about it right now, but you have to, there's certain now prerequisites, and you have to really, there's a pool which you have to pick from. Whereas you take anyone in open water and it's amazing because you can literally start off that journey with anyone. So actually there's so much potential in teaching open water. I never don't want to not teach that. So my ideal teaching portfolio, as you like, would be initially the open water performance diver and then the scientific diving as well. Never say never to fundamentals, because it would be really nice to have the whole spectrum, but right now I would love to focus on the open water and slowly reaching towards science as well.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna write this. I'm gonna set a date in my
Oh,
calendar
are
for
you? Okay.
July 3rd, 2026,
Yeah.
and we're gonna see where you're at. No, but so and then going back to the caves. So you were cave certified. How has that journey been? You were going to take cave 2, but you decided to put it on hold until next year. How has the cave journey been so far?
Oh, I love it. Oh God. I really love it. So one of the reasons why I was going to take Cave 2 and then didn't is because, well, it was going to actually start the day after my open water IE had finished. So it was like, we're talking like, it's a lot, right? And also I was also looking at where I was wanting to now study Cave 2. It was going to be in Sardinia again, but now I can see the benefits of going elsewhere. Well, initially it happened that I was going to be a third member on this particular course. And so I said to the instructor that yes, I can do the course. I feel ready to do so, like navigationally speaking. I now feel more ready after the tech one because I have the stage and everything. And so my only issue was my lack of experience in a diversity of systems. So I initially said I would like to do it. I feel ready. But what I would want you to do is write on my feedback needs to have a variety of experience. So I wanted that to be a note on my record. However, now I did not do Cave 2 right now, but it was still really nice to just do Cave 1 dives. I was actually able to then not take the lead on certain things, but I knew the cave very well. So if we have teams, I would lay the reel, be confident in showing newer Cave 1 divers around, able to, take all these lights and show them the different parts of the cave, which I really like, was able to, I guess, be really stringent on making sure they understood the gas planning and when they needed to turn and things. So that was really nice to do and just to solidify those experiences. But I think, going in a wider variety of systems would really help us as well.
Okay. Well, speaking of variety, what are the destinations in mind?
Ooh, okay, I haven't really thought because I have so many random trips that I have going on and things to do. But I mean, I guess, like Mexico and Florida was, I guess, the first subconscious port of calls. I mean, I would love to dive in Asia, but you need like cave 2 just to even get in at this moment in time. To be fair, I have done some cave diving in Spain, which was really nice. So we'll see where I go. I feel like Mexico will be quite nice. I've heard that it's a bit shallower, so I can just go for a long time. Incidentally, I was in Sardinia and we've been so busy, and me, Gemma, and Dora, we dove together for the first time doing cave dive together, and that was really nice. I mean, they were doing cave 2 limits, I was doing cave 1, but we were able to go. There's a cave in Sardinia called Cala Luna, and it's quite deep. Well, deep. It's an average depth of 12 meters, deep for Sardinia. And I really wanted to get to the end of this passage, which I'd never been able to go before with other teams. It's very, very wormy. Imagine like a roller coaster ride. You go up and down, and it's really cool. And I was able to get to the end with them, which was really nice. And it's about looking at the caves through a different lens, because in order to get there, I had to be quite high up off the line by 1 or 2 meters, because the Cala Luna itself is a very narrow but tall cave, and so I was right up high in the ceiling next to the helix line, and we just redid the line work, so I was able to see the main line super clearly from that position. But then I was never that far off the line before. I'm usually like quite close to it, And so I was able to see the different features above the halocline in that cave system, and able to see a lot more different aspects or little speleotherms or stalactites in the cave itself. So I really like that, and it felt like a new cave, which is really nice to see. So always things to learn, but yeah, I haven't had a definite idea of a location or date yet. I just know I need to do it, and that would help Freatic, so the Sardinian NGO which I'm a volunteer for. It would allow me to go further and help out more with their projects as well.
Okay, okay. No, and it's something that I definitely want to do more, is get more variety. So I've
Yeah,
done cave training and did cave diving in Mexico, but like you were saying, it's very shallow. There's almost little to no flow. And then you go somewhere like Florida, gets deep very quickly, high flow. So I'd like to make it a point at some point in time to make it out to Florida, because it kind of scares me, but I feel like that's something I need to do at the same time. Like, okay, let's go. There's obviously very well, highly trained people over there that I would feel
for
comfortable
sure.
getting in the water
We should
with.
go
So,
together.
we should. No, one of these days. Because yeah, and then just all over Europe. I mean, every time I see
Yeah,
pictures, there's just phenomenal caves.
that's true. Yeah,
Do you
for
think
sure.
you'll ever get into the mines?
I mean, we all know my track record of saying no and then doing things. So I would say I, at the moment, prefer, I guess, natural cave systems. I really like looking at the diversity of life, but then I feel like the historical aspect, if I research it more, I feel like if I research it more, the more I would want to go there, because I feel like it would be really interesting to see that historical element as well.
Yeah, no,
But
no,
it's
no,
quite
for
cold.
sure.
It's quite cold though, and I'm a bit like, oh, I don't know. Oh, also, so another side quest in my life is that I'm doing the polar scientific diving course in Finland in the Arctic next year, and
Oh,
I am now that is out of my comfort zone. Like, I am not looking forward to the cold. As people know, in Sardinia, I hate wearing a hood and gloves at the best of times, and so even like the idea of having dry gloves and really thick heated undergarments for a long time, doing drills and scientific work down there, that's out of my comfort zone. And but it's, I'm willing to like really push that, and that's my uncomfortableness. But I'm really looking forward to being, I guess, quote, like a real student on those types of dives again, and really expand my comfort zone in different environments too.
okay. Is that with the Finnish Scientific Diving
It is.
Academy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Are you doing it
I was
with Ed or?
I am, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was actually on a call with him last night actually, and then he was like, "Oh, so you're coming?" I'm like, "Oh, I am. Yes, I forgot about that." So I need to start buying stuff. So yeah, it should be super cool, super cool.
No, so I met Ed in November last year. Super cool guy. He actually came on the
Yeah,
podcast, and um,
I listened to it. It was so
yeah.
nice.
So I love going down there, but every time I record, I end up having a few too many drinks. And I even told, so when I chatted with him first, because he really enjoyed the episode I did with Mark Crane. He's like, oh, we got to
Oh,
get a
nice.
bottle of Santa Teresa, and I basically
I
told
Yeah, I
him,
remember that.
yeah, I was like, that Santa Teresa's banned from the podcast. Like, she can't come on to the podcast anymore. So yeah, either way, but no, super cool guy, super knowledgeable. I got to hang out and have a few chats with him. So that'll be awesome that you're
Nice.
going up there to do that with him. And yes, that's going to be cold.
It's
So
gonna be cool.
you have a retired, out of commission dry suit. What is the next dry suit?
My next one will be similar thing, so the Avatar Aeron. So that one I'm really looking forward to, because I've now tried a few of the Santi suits, especially, as I said, it's usually Dorota's old suits. So I'm very grateful to her. At, at one point, so Dora was wearing one of her old ones. I was wearing her first old one, and then Gemma was wearing her old fourth element. So we were all wearing her suits. It was great pictures, but I've worn quite a few of them, and I really love, like, the durability of Santi is amazing. And I remember the first time I wore a Santi suit like a few years ago, I was still getting used to the dry suits, and I found them very big and bulky and heavy. But now I've got more used to it. I find them absolutely fine in that regard. And so, but I still really want a suit which is not only durable but one that I can still use for traveling super easily with. And so I guess the Aeron is a mixture of both of those features. So light, easy to travel, but also very durable as well. So I'm very grateful to Santi. So I'm going to pick it up. Actually, so I've traveled directly from the Solomon Islands to Poland in mid-August to pick it up. And so I'm very excited about that.
Okay, cool. No, Santi, they do have a few lines of dry suits that are really, really nice, from super durable to really nice, lightweight, travel friendly. So speaking of the Solomon Islands, you're going there for a scientific diving project. Can you speak a little bit more about what you're going to be doing there, what the group is going to be doing there?
Sure. So right now, I'm also, as well as working with GUE, I'm gone back into expedition logistics, which I really am happy about. Also, why my life is like really, really hectic. But I love doing the two of them. I still need to find balance between everything that I'm doing, but I really love it. And so this actually opportunity came about quite serendipitously. I was connecting a few individuals together with different organizations. There was part of the GUE trainees. Oh, actually, we can talk about how the GUE legacy project and traineeships are looking like as well. But I basically connected some of the trainees to some individuals. I then got chatting again to Jess Keller, who's the head of AUS, and then she was like, "Oh, do you want to come to the Solomon Islands and be part of the scientific diving team?" And I was like, "Yeah." So that was great. No, and then I got more involved in the organizations that we are all working with together. And so I'm basically going down there with a team. They are looking at the genetic diversity of different like clams and things. So I'll be helping out with more so shallow water scientific diving operations. Beforehand, we had more deep water and technological aspects, but now I'm just going down with a team of divers. And so, yeah, 4 dives a day, most days. So it'll be a busy time, but I'm very much looking forward to it. And also looking forward to the heat as well, because the UK is cold right now.
Is it really cold over there right now?
I mean, cold relatively. Like, Sardinia was extortionately hot, and now I guess you would call this British summer, and I'm wearing like a jumper.
I completely understand. Like, just living in Southeast Asia the last 3 years, anytime it's like below, I'm going Fahrenheit, but anytime it's below like 80 Fahrenheit, I'm like, dude, this sucks. I just need to get back to Southeast Asia where it's better. Planes. I'm frozen on planes these days. They're always so cold.
Oh my goodness. Yes, planes, ridiculous. I don't know how people can wear shorts on planes. Like, I am wearing like jumpers, blankets, like.
Everyone's looking at me like, what is this guy doing? You know?
Yep.
Well, speaking of the GUE legacy projects, GUE programs, can you tell me a little bit more about that? But first, a little bit more about the Young Divers program, because that started, you said, beginning of this year or late last year?
So it was late last year. Yeah. So I guess that's why I left Sardinia now, because I only had a day or two in the UK because we were running this other project. So actually, at this moment of writing, I am about to look through all of the applications for this year's scholarship, and we've had quite a lot. So I will be very busy in the Solomons, like looking at applications at whatever time of day or night it might be. But the uptake has been really good this year, so I'm really excited to hear about what people have brought to the table and what other amazing individuals we will have next year as well. But the scholarship program and I guess the legacy project has expanded a lot, which is really, really nice. So we still have our main scholar, and that scholar has the full remit of GUE training throughout the year. We then have our traineeship. So the traineeship is the runners up, top 10. I don't like to put a number on it, so not top 10 per se, but I guess individuals that applied for the scholarship that we really think also can bring some form of impact to their community. And so we like to bring some form of individual support to them, not as much as a scholarship, but we have some form of support there. And those individuals this year as well have gotten a lot of opportunities as well. We've now started a collaboration with Blue Green Expeditions too. So the incoming scholars will also have a chance to go on one of their expeditions. It just so happened that the scholar this year, Tan, he's unable to make it because of
visa reasons. Right? Is he from Texas?
Yes. No, so he lives in He lives in the US right now, but also he is a Thai citizen. So he flies between Thailand, Southeast Asia, and the US. But this time he's able to make the trip. So we have two of our trainees also going, which is super exciting. So they're beginning to have more and more opportunities. And then I guess the next two concentric circles of like wider impact is we have a mentorship program where we connect individuals with scientists, and also we have the Young Divers program. Now, the Young Divers program is not restricted to scholars and trainees, but any young diver between the ages of 19 and 30, but we might change the dates because we just had our first pilot iteration at the end of Sardinia this year. And so it was super nice because it is not just about diving. So we have a group of individuals who come for, it was 5 days, and they not only learn diving skills, but they have workshops. And that could be anything from documentation, project diving. We might expand it next year to geology or foundational skills. In conjunction with that, they have parallel workshops with, we had a renowned psychologist come as well and work with the students, and they learned about leadership values. And so these conversations were really insightful, and there was a lot of deep reflection in what it takes to be a leader, values, growth mindset. So a lot of very interesting cultural conversations with that too. We also had other activities for them just to, I guess, bond and create a community with other individuals their age and from their generation. So we had individuals who partake and talking about their own experiences, because we had a few cavers in the group as well who lead cave-ing expeditions who want to eventually learn cave diving, and also like fitness activities we did with them. They had community bonding events, so it was a plethora of many different things, not just diving itself. So it was a big success. Everyone really liked it. We also took a lot of feedback from it as well, and we've thought about ways in which we can develop the program. I mean, yes, the common thing was more of them, more times, more locations, more people. But also in that, we really want to develop aspects of service in the places which we put on these courses. Whereas that it could be a conservation aspect, it could be a teaching aspect, it could be a scientific data gathering aspect. So we've got lots of ideas for the future as well.
Awesome. Awesome. No, that is absolutely amazing. And I love to see that there are just these continuing programs or new programs coming out, because just, at the end of the day, it's all about getting the opportunity to get to dive, and then to get some solid training and development behind it is always a huge plus.
I think the main thing that came from the program was, I mean, it was the empowerment aspect, because a lot of individuals, they really wanted a community of divers their own age, or didn't feel like they were able to go in the spaces where they thought they couldn't initially. And so seeing them gain confidence, seeing them able to form a community themselves of other young divers, but also they really left that program having, I guess, the quiet confidence that one day there can be a leader in their community, and so are more able to reach out and be the person that they needed to have and form the communities themselves. So it was really nice to see, and I think everyone took or learned something from that course as well.
Awesome. Well, as usual, I like to end on a advice question of some sorts, and I'm trying to think, because I feel like, obviously we've chatted about a few different things, so I feel like I could go a few different ways with the advice question. But since at the beginning there was no tech one, now there is a tech one. Somebody that is about to, or maybe thinking, or maybe they're not sure if they want to take a tech one, what is the best piece of advice? I guess, I'll rephrase it this way. What is the best piece of advice you could give to somebody looking to progress going down that route? So maybe tech one, maybe not, but just a higher level of diving.
I guess, to be uncharacteristically succinct, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're probably right.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Okay, well, Jenn, this has been absolutely wonderful. And once again, I really thank you for coming back onto the podcast. And like I said, the date is set July 3rd, 2026. You're going to be back on. No, you'll be back on before that for sure. But no, sure. I really, really appreciate you coming back onto the podcast. It's absolutely awesome to see your progression and just kind of see what you've been doing, hear about what you've been doing. And as always, excited to see where you're going to go.
I love these chats, honestly, and I can talk forever and ages, but yeah, thank you so much. And I'm excited to hear or see what I will do in a year's time as well. Oh, I'll let you know how cold I get. That's it. In Finland.
Off-gassing, a scuba podcast.